time for us to dive into the discussion with Charu Sharma. And we also have Sanjay Jha with us right now. Charu, would you say that the Kiwis are a tad unlucky when it comes to super overs?
Well, I mean, let's not go there, because that World Cup memory is going to be terrible for New Zealand. And I once again feel so bad for Kane Williamson. What a knock, you know. What a match, Rika, because it had 2 or 3 magical moments. I mean, often matches are close, but the magic is missing. Today, of course, the final over by Shami was phenomenal. I mean, to get, to somehow claw their way, the Indian way back after that last over was brilliant. And of course, Kane Williamson's inning itself, you feel sorry for the fact that not only did he lose the match, but also missed out on 100. Cricket's always about stats as well. And finally, of course, Rohit Sharma, I mean, to back-to-back sixes in a near lost cause. It was just, I mean, you feel for New Zealand, but I will say once again, brilliant by the Indians, and of course, they get a series win. But the match itself, to see it in totality as a non-partisan viewer, you've got to like what happened there at Hamilton, anywhere in the cricketing world today.
Right. We also have Atul Wassan joining us at this time. Atul, would you say this was New Zealand's match to lose?
Is it for me?
Would you say this was New Zealand's match to lose with the way they played?
Is it for me, Rika?
Yes, Atul.
Because I can't hear you properly here.
Yes,
okay.
It is for you.
Well, you know, I mean, they were up against it when India was going great guns up front, but they pulled the match back. And, you know, even when India got 179, looking at the slowness of the pitch and the spinners we had on hand, I thought Kiwis will not get there. But again, that man, Williamson, is totally brilliant. You know, he's in the classic mold, but the way he batted, you know, if only somebody else could have supported him. But full marks to India, because the mentality you can see in the way they're playing is fearless. You know, that's the word, because they have got no fear of losing. Once you have that, then the bowlers are also charging in. You're not defensive. Looking at Shami bowl, looking at even Yuzvendra Chahal bowl, you know, they were trying to pick wickets. They know once the wickets were there, and the match was gone. Kiwis could have finished it an over earlier, but they kept at it and see how things turn. So I think this is a tribute to the kind of mentality the team is playing with.
Sanjay, the par score in Seddon Park is 190. India didn't even get the par score today, but there was no looking back, even though they didn't get the par score. Would you say it is that mentality to win and, you know, to see them over the finish line that has helped them win this game, their first super over, in fact, in international cricket?
You know, Rika, I see a great parallel between what has been happening at the Australian Open, where Roger Federer, both against John Millman as well as against Dennis Sandgren, literally written off. I don't think, you know, I follow tennis very closely. 7 match points and Federer just pulled off a remarkable comeback. Now, you know, India winning with just, you know, literally New Zealand having to score 1 boundary, you know, 2 runs of 4 balls. I mean, I think, you know, the match was as good as gone. And, you know, end of day, you had in the last over both Taylor as well as Williamson getting out. Now, you know, these tell you that, you know, this is the beauty of sport, that until it's over, it's not over. And cricket has produced these kind of very extraordinary results in the past. Even in the super over, it took the last couple of balls for New Zealand to really lose and for India to win. But you're right, you know, if you look at now the entire series so far, one thing is, I think, the biggest plus for India is ability to adapt in overseas conditions. And the fact that it has done so in very quick haste, immediately following the series against Australia.
Right.
The first match, everybody talked about a jet lag. But subsequent to that, I think there has been a very rapid adjustment to different conditions, no matter whether the pitches are becoming similar or not. And you're playing a new opponent in their home turf. So I think for India, a lot of brownie points going ahead, and they've already won the series for the first time. So it's a great story for
Right.
India.
It is a great story for India. Charu, to you, for the first time, India has won a T20 series in New Zealand, history created at Hamilton. Would you say this was the final frontier for India, and they have now, Virat Kohli's men have now been able to conquer it?
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
You're asking me because I can't hear.
No,
T20 is
Atul,
a
I'm
much
asking
closer
Charu. I'll
contest
get to you
anywhere
in a
around
bit.
the world, anytime. I mean, if India win series against New... Sorry, Atul, I'll just say a couple of things and we'll get to you. No, Rika, I won't go that far because T20 is a very narrow contest anywhere around the world, anytime, anyway. And even though, of course, India we're talking about different circumstances and situations in New Zealand, different pitches, different conditions, but it's a T20 after all, and T20s are based on batting wickets largely around the world. If India should go on to win the Test series in New Zealand, and if New Zealand have their full complement of faster bowlers back from New Zealand, then we'll say that India performed really well. I don't mean to go traditional on you and say that T20s don't matter. They do, and it's a fine win. But remember, New Zealand were well short in their bowling department. Some of their best fast bowlers, Trent Bolton down the line. And let's just take this match for what it is. I think India showed a lot of heart. Atul mentioned this lack of fear, of losing. I think that's a very important attitude in any sports person anywhere. And that is what India showed today. I mean, they stuck with it even though the situation is quite desperate. So, no, it's not the final frontier. T20s never are. But if India would build on this and get used to the conditions and, of course, handle them in test matches, then I'd certainly be much happier later on this tour.
Atul, where does this place India in terms of their preparations for the World T20, which is coming up later this year? Because all of these T20 matches they are playing right now are in preparation for that tournament.
Yeah, it's still a lot of time left. A lot can happen in these few months left. First of all, India has to. But you mentioned about the series win. I don't think so. Winning the series is so important. It's just even that to the T20 series, even ODI series, nobody remembers. It's like a fast food meal, McDonald's or KFC. You're hungry, you get something to eat, you feel nice, and you forget about it. Winning a test series is a big thing. But now this is the preparation. This shows that you've got the core of the team ready. And now you don't want to peak too early. We have done that in the past. We have not won a big tournament having the best team in the world for a while. But I must give credit to the New Zealand team for giving these kind of pitches. And now I'm sure they're not handing it out, but this is because of the fear of Indian fast bowlers. So this is the paradigm change in fortunes of India abroad, because the other teams are also fearful of your bowlers. So you get these good pitches because their batsmen are also where you're facing quality of Bumrah and Shami and the club.
Interesting, Atul spoke about the Indian fast bowlers. Sanjay, would you say the way Bumrah bowled today was not himself? He did not show, we did not see the real Bumrah today.
Well, he's a player clearly working back, recuperating from an injury. He was off cricket for a while. It takes time, but I do believe that until this match, when, don't forget that for New Zealand, this was a do or die match. I mean, their batsmen would come after him, because you can't say that because Bumrah is a great bowler, we will give him respect when, this match, if you lose the series, which is what's eventually happened. So they would take a lot more risk against him, which they did. I mean, I don't believe all the balls that Bumrah got hit on were bad balls. So, there's one point that we need to keep in mind, though, and I would caution that, to agree with what Atul said, that the nature of the abbreviated format of cricket is that it's very mercurial. It's very volatile. So you may be in tremendous form in the short-term form of the game, but you enter a World Cup and things can change dramatically, because you never know, West Indies could pull you out of or bat you out of a match. Which happened, I remember, in the T20 World Cup that happened in Mumbai in the match that West Indies blew us off. So you are, frankly speaking, on a very tricky terrain where T20 cricket is concerned. And, while obviously all these victories will add to the confidence, I think there's a long time between now and the World Cup. One of the reasons why T20 is becoming popular and we are playing so many matches is because I guess it gives you great commercial revenue. But we must not forget that these matches will change by literally one or two balls. We can look at the first match and this match. New Zealand could have won both, and they could have been 2-1 up, barring the last match where they flopped quite badly. So, these are what tells you that the volatility or the sheer swings that happen, while a victory gives you confidence, you can't be complacent in this form of cricket at all.
Right, we have to talk a little bit about Rohit Sharma. Charu, that Rohit Sharma would be the player of the match today was a foregone conclusion. But during the post-match interview, he said that he was a tad bit disappointed to have gotten out after that 40 ball 65. What does that really say of Rohit Sharma and his massive appetite for runs. Apparently, he is the fastest now, fastest Indian now to get to 1,000 runs as an opener.
Well, Rohit Sharma was disappointed. What about Kane Williamson? Out at 95, fabulous runs, and of course his team goes on to lose a match they should have won. So Rohit, of course, is being very humble, and that's fine. I mean, it was a lovely 60 and change. And, forget the knock earlier in the innings. I think his back-to-back sixes that won India the match is something that's going to be played out for a very, very long time. Because you cannot even imagine the kind of pressure and the difficulty of those final two balls. But Rohit is in fine form, there's no doubt about it. He is the centerpiece of the Indian batting at this point of time. But you do have to have a couple of the considerations. Because India won, I think people will quickly, fluff over the fact that Bumrah had a really bad day. What is Shardul Thakur's role exactly in the Indian cricket team? We're not too sure. Shivam Dube is still very young. I suppose they're persisting with him because he can hit the ball a very long way, but is he a good bowling option or not? So there are a few considerations. Also Manish Pandey, a brilliant performer, always in the shadows because he doesn't get enough time. I hope he stays with the Indian T20 team for a while now because he's a great contributor with the bat and of course with the field. But there are a couple of areas which tend to get glossed over when the team wins. But it wasn't a particularly good day for Bumrah. He'd like to forget this as quickly as possible.
Right. So Indian team will have to introspect over a few things. Atul, today India did a weird experiment of sending Shivam Dube ahead of Virat Kohli. Do you think that he should come at number 3, or this is just one of the things that India is now trying out?
Is it me?
Yes.
Okay. I think Virat is the kind of person who will keep on doing this because in spite of the series online, I mean, no better player than him. But you just send somebody to actually, just become a hero or somebody. So this is the kind of opportunities he's giving to the players, and he's taking that pressure because even if he fails, then Virat is going to come and equalize the fact. But if Shivam Dube has been given a role and he gets going, then you've got a player who's performed at the big stage and it's an asset for the team. So it's a process. So I think Virat believes in that. He's not safe. He's always stuck his neck out, and that's why the results will come. But eventually we have to remember that Australia World Cup, you've got to keep in mind you'll be coming off the dopamine of hitting sixes in IPL, shorter boundaries, placid wickets. The bounce will be more in Australia. The wickets, the grounds maybe 7-8 yards bigger. So I think those sixes will turn into catches. So you just have to calibrate the game like Rohit did today. His batting and only Kane looked like calibrating the game according to the pitch today. Other batsmen struggled. They were very good in the last game. So this is the quality of a top-class player who can calibrate his timing and batting on a given pitch.
Sanjay, do you see the Kiwis coming back in the series?
Well, to be honest, I do feel rather sad for them today. I'm very happy that India has won the series. And
would you say it will be a 5-0 scoreline?
But you look at Kane Williamson's performance, I thought he was fantastic. And that ball on which he got out, I mean, had it perhaps just got an edge and the ball went a little higher, and that could have been a boundary at the end of the match itself. So you gotta feel bad for them because the first and this match, I think they have been actually outfoxed by India. And I think what both the panelists correctly mentioned, India looks very pugilistic. It looks like a team which is ready to knock out anybody.
Right.
And I think that resolution of the team, visible in the countenance of Virat Kohli, and a very demonstrative team that is clearly bristling with confidence. That is something that has surprised New Zealand. But I do believe that they're not going to, throw in the towel. I mean, even in a game like this, you win the last 2 matches. It's very psychological.
Right.
Ultimately, you remember the last match. So even if India wins the series, let's suppose hypothetically New Zealand win the last 2, they'll say, you know what, we might have lost the series, but we won the last 2. So,
I'll have to ask one last question to Atul. Would you like to make a Glenn McGrath-like prediction whether this will be a 5-0 series win for India or not? Atul, to you.
No, it won't be. I think Kiwis don't have this kind of bad luck. They've come so close. Probably they don't want to get this tag of chokers away from South Africa onto their heads now. They've lost a lot of close games. I think they will have a good day and they'll come back.
Right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on the show.